Danielle, thank you for taking the time to sit with us today to talk about you. Would you mind letting the audience know, or the people who's going to watch this today, know who you are and what it is that you do, and give us just a little bit about yourself?
Okay, yeah. My name is Danielle, aka Danny. I am a chef, private chef. Also cater. Um, my business is called Chow 108. This is my second year, and it's a southern cuisine based company.
Okay. Um, so the first question I had for you, and then I kind of just wanted to know because not many people just get upset. I want to be I want to jump into culinary. Well, I guess that's not true. But what really led you down to this? What literally led you down to have this career? Like, what made you really committed to jump into the world of culinary?
So typically you hear a story about my grandma, cooking, and actually it was both. Not it wasn't just my grandmother. It was my grandma and my grandpa. To my grandpa cooking fried chicken in that cast iron skillet. To my grandma, making that doing the shredded cheese or the macaroni and cheese, and honestly just watching them cook so many meals, and then just wanting to help out so bad because I thought it was really cool just being in the kitchen, watching how they cooked and prepped and prepared the meals. And then when I got to high school, I was able to take a cooking class, and once I took the cooking class, I was like, yeah, this is where I'm at, this is what I want to do. So I started applying for colleges, and Johnson Love was always my number one choice. And so once I got admitted in, once I got approved to go, it was up from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, from what I've learned about you, at least going into this, your first cooking class was in high school.
Yeah.
So, what was that like?
Well, it was interesting because it's what, like 20 kids.
Yeah.
So they had to break us up in groups. And I remember I think we had like little burners. So we made like simple stuff though, because it wasn't like a full kitchen, how
For
to do in
sure.
college. So we did like simple things like I remember making biscuits for sure. We prepped out a lot. We did a couple cool items such as like yogurt parfaits. So it was almost like a basic introduction of what cooking was like. So that's why I enjoyed it.
Was there like a particular moment in that class that like really stuck out to you, even to this day?
No, not necessarily, because I just enjoyed going like every day from like the first day of class all the way to the end, because not only was I learning like the aspect of like prepping and cooking, but we was actually learning the backstory of different things, like even with a biscuit, why we put flour and butter and how it's mixed in, the science behind it all.
Right.
I thought that was interesting because anything science, I'm just like I'm not interested at all, but for culinary science, I was intrigued, so
Okay.
yeah.
Rock with that.
So, Danielle, I know that this theme today was Thanksgiving, but I wanted to know, what is your signature dish? What are you known for? What do you want to be known for?
And I thought about that question, what is my signature dish? Because that's not the first question. That's not the first time I've been asked. But honestly, I just don't have a signature dish because when I look at Southern cuisine, like my whole creativity stems from, okay, how can I take these Southern staples, these Southern ingredients that we grew up on, and how can I elevate that dish? And then I always, like every catering or event that I do, I always go into the mindset of how can I give their palate, each individual, a new experience, a different one. Like even with the smoked cheddar mac and cheese, it's just like you guys already have an idea of what macaroni and cheese tastes like, right? But when you incorporate a new flavor, like the smoked flavor, it heightens the level, 5, 10 times more. So that's where I'm at with it. I just like elevating Southern cuisine that we grew up on, and ingredients too.
So it's like you're taking these traditional themed foods that you grew up with and putting a spin to it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Put a little spazzle.
So what makes your cooking style so unique?
So I study a lot. I look at books. There's a mentor that I follow, Dwayne Chef. I always what's the word? I always pick his photos down. I always think about what flavors he's using, techniques, shapes and sizes. So that's the same thing what I do. So I'll think about the cooking. I'll think about a lot of dimensions. I'll think about the shapes, the sizes, the colors, the height, the length, the width of everything, down to the carrots, down to the sauce. Everything that's going on the plate, I always like to consider, and then I always think about different cooking techniques, making sure I incorporate that because every little detail matters. And then elevate, making sure I'm thinking outside the box as well, with doing Southern cuisine. So.
Okay, nice. So it's great that you are always studying and I guess keeping up with today's different new dishes and meals and whatnot. As far as keeping up with the aspect of cooking in today's time, how do you take criticism? Because nowadays, people can take one of your meals and rate it by just going on their phone and giving you that 1 to 10, and it's quicker. How do you take criticism as a chef?
I learned earlier on, don't take it personal. If I'm trying to reach a goal, if I'm trying to reach a culinary milestone, and it's to any chef, just don't take anything personal because it's important for you. In order for you to produce good results or progress, you need that criticism. I might think something is good, and majority of people might think it's not the best. I can't really grow, or my business can't make sales if I'm not making progress. So I learned not to take it personal. I learned that if I'm catering or if I'm doing a private dinner for a certain amount of people, let's say 8. Matter of fact, last year I did a dinner party for 8 people. And when my client introduced me to one of his guests, he was like, yeah, this guy, he's pretty excited, but he's really picky. So I was like, all right, bet, because out of all of them in the group, he's gonna give me the most criticism because he's a picky eater. But I want that feedback because those picky eaters, they don't eat everything,
Right.
And they're gonna tell you the honest to God truth. Versus, the food lovers are like, okay, this is really good. But I definitely, I fish out the picky eaters because I want that feedback. I want to grow, I want to learn. Because my goal is to feed you all, and make you all feel good and have a good experience. And I can't do that unless I get feedback. So.
What would you say is the difference between home style cooking for a private dinner, catering event, or cooking at a restaurant?
I'd say the difference, so a private chef, it's a lot more intimate.
Okay.
It's a lot more tedious, detail oriented. You're basically trying to create art on the plate, edible art on the plate. So you take everything into consideration. With catering for a larger group or more home style, you don't have to be as tedious or as oriented detail. I mean, you still have to be a little bit detailed, but it's not as meticulous as it is with private chef. And then you're cooking for a larger batch. It's not, you're not just putting the food on just that one plate. It's more so of okay, I'm cooking for a large quantity, and the people, they can kind of serve themselves, so it's not, you don't even have to worry about plate presentation for home style, because it's just okay, I'm just gonna put whatever whatever's being served, I'm just gonna eat like that versus with private chef, I bring it to you and it's already plated nicely.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, when you say like private chef, do you mean just dinners, or like you're coming into someone's home and on a weekly basis you're cooking a dinner for them each night?
It kind of varies because it's like for a private chef, I can do, I've got a man or woman can call me like, hey, I want to do something nice for my spouse, or my partner, wife, or husband.
Okay.
Or, I have a client where he just wants to invite his closest friends over, just because they haven't gotten together in a long time and they just want to catch up. Or what's another one? Or if you're doing like a high-end like birthday party, it's not as it's a lot more formal. That's also another example for private chefing. So it just kind of varies.
Okay.
Have you ever had as I would probably say on the private chef side, have you ever had a client who was extremely particular, like food allergies or food or ingredients that they just do not like in certain dishes, and how did you manage that? Like, did that kind of become, I don't want to say necessarily a struggle, but is that something that you say you had to find a way to move around in order to still give the best quality that you say that you want to give to your client?
I say so I know pastry is a little bit different, but for culinary for sure, you got a lot more wiggle room, and it's like it's not a struggle, but it can be challenging depending on what they're picky about. Most of the time, chefs were taught, to roll with the punches and make it happen.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like simple allergies, like peanuts. Actually, most of the allergies are fine to work with. It's just the only thing that can be a little bit more challenging is like the extremely picky people, like who don't have allergies or just don't prefer. Like, I just want salt-free food. Like, I don't know how to
make food that's salt-free. Like.
I think that can be like a struggle. But for the most part, we're taught as chefs, to what are some substitutions that you all can do in order to still execute a phenomenal meal.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit earlier about, how when it comes to handling criticism, and you say don't take it personal, but like you said also that you're basically creating art and it's personal art.
Yeah.
So it's very personal when someone gives you critique and it's like, wow, but I gave you me.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, at least to me, it seems like when a chef is handing you something on a plate, you're handing me the chef.
Yeah.
And then if I don't like it and I say something about it, then it does feel, in a way, it may feel like a personal attack. So when it comes to handling that, and I would probably want to ask, like, how, has there really been any critique that really made you kind of question like what you're doing and your place in this world?
I'd say for sure. I mean, I feel like as chefs, like there isn't a time where you don't question it, because you're like, dang, like am I really as good as I say I am? But you just have to understand that, just with anything, you start somewhere. So every time it's not going to be great.
Yeah.
You're going to have some bumps in the road. You're going to have too much salt in the sauce. Even though you might overburn something or overcook something. But all you can do is just keep practicing, keep trying.
Yeah. So, education. Johnson & Wales, congratulations. I know that's a prominent school to get into, and that's a very difficult school to get into. When it comes to being in Johnson & Wales, how was the competition there? Like, what was that like being a student in Johnson & Wales, in a way competing with the best of the best here in North Carolina for?
As far as like in school?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it was intimidating, y'all. For me it was, because it was like, I'm coming from this small city, small country city, and I know a little bit about cooking, but I don't know, as much as they're about to teach me.
Yeah.
So, you walk into these classes and it's what, like 15, 16 of y'all, and you realize who's like at the top, and then, who needs a lot of work, and then who's right in the middle. And, those people who were like amazing, making A's during, cooking and prepping during our projects and stuff, it's just like, dang, like, do I really want to do culinary? Like, am I really good? But you just learn over time that, everybody has their own lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like once you understand that part, it's a lot better to it's a lot better to get through.
Are there competitions in Johnson & Wales?
Yes. Yes, there are definitely competitions. I did not compete in any of them. I was too shy. But there's definitely competitions.
Oh.
Yeah.
How are the teachers or the professors in culinary? I'm not even gonna say Johnson & Wales, because you don't just learn at just a culinary school. Like, even when you go to even when you get hired at a restaurant and you work under your boss, who is like the head chef, you're still going to be learning something. But how are the teachers and the professors and the professors and the head chefs, like, how intimidating can they be to you as a person just walking in ready to start, or even like you're kind of already seasoned, you know what you're doing, but still, like, this is still the head chef, and they could still kind of grill you on certain things. Because I've heard some things about, the top folks in the culinary world. They can be pretty harsh.
Yeah, so every professor has their own way of teaching. Some aren't as harsh as others. And I'll never forget Chef Teeth. He taught our French class, and he was like the harsh out of all of them. Like, we never ever saw him smile ever, like crack a joke, nothing. And he never really, I wouldn't say he never gave us positive feedback, but he always, that sounds horrible, but it was like he was always on us for the better, if that makes sense. And so he was just always constantly pushing us. Like, and the grading was even worse. Like, I promise you, if you weren't like on your A game, like going way above and beyond, taking initiative, like, you're probably walking out of class with a C. Like, and most of us did.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have like a personal example that you could share?
So there, I was actually working at a gig, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say, and knife cuts are a thing at the gig that I was working with. And I remember one of the chefs, like, I was asking the chef, like, hey, like, how does this look? And I was a little bit more confident. So I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna get his approval. He was like, damn, these look like shit. Pew, pew, pew. I was like, all right. But, I just took it on the chin, and I kept practicing, They couldn't use the knife, they couldn't use the cuts, because I think it was like, if I'm not mistaken, it was mirepoix, so carrots, onions, and, celery that we use for, like, bases of soups.
Yeah.
And they were not where they need to be, and he did not have no problems telling me that they looked like shit. So, am I allowed to curse? I mean, they look like crap. I apologize. They look like crap. So yeah.
So you've already told us about what we can experience at your private dinners. What about your catering events, as well as in your bio you said you're a menu consultant? Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So people who are just starting their culinary journey. I have a couple people, who actually reach out and let me know that, I want to do an event. Can you check out my menu? And, I'll look it over, and I'll ask a couple questions like, what clientele are you trying to reach? What's your budget? I also take into consideration, the season, because, certain products you don't want to purchase, like watermelon, for example. Like right now is not a great time to purchase watermelon because, it's November, and, watermelon doesn't grow until spring, summer. So you take all that into consideration when you're building a menu. And then you also have to think about the type of clientele that you're serving, what building the menu as well. So that's how it starts, and then they'll reach out, and I'll give my opinion, my feedback and advice. They'll take some, and then, they might not take it. But that's what menu consulting is, and that's what I do.
Okay, so do you have like consultations prior, or it's just whoever needs your advice?
More so like whoever needs my advice.
Okay.
Cause I care, I want people to see, so, I don't really get too much into like the detail logistics of it.
Okay.
I just like to help wherever I can.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a business called Chow 108. Can you tell us how that blossomed and what inspired it?
Yes, actually, because it took me a long time to try to figure out what name I wanted to give my business. And I remember praying, Lord, all these other names I got, they're so cheesy and boring. And I remember.
What was the other names?
It was like Sweet Savory Danny. I was like, that's it. The other one was, oh shucks, it was I can't remember the other one, but that's how you know it's trash. I remember driving down and I was like, God, I want a name, and I just want something that stands out, that's different. And I remember my cousin, my oldest cousin, she was like, my last name is Hall. She was like, them Halls can eat. Every time I go down there, they always eat them something. They always chow down. And I was like, I always used to hear that word growing up, chow, they always chow down. So I was like, maybe I can use chow. So I was like, I don't know. I was like, but if I do, what can I put on there? And I came up with the idea of using, since, I started my love for cooking at my grandparents' house, I used their street number address as the end. So 108 is actually my grandparents' street number. So it's Chow 108.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's been rolling ever since.
Okay, so what can people expect when from Chow 108, your business? What experience can they get when they book you?
Love, passion, and just overall good vibes. I'm naturally a peaceful person. I love positive energy. I don't want to be around negative energy. So when I'm coming into events and spaces, I want to make sure my energy is just radiating off of that place. And with the food, I always think about, because I always have a hard time trying to explain to people, but I actually came up with a good example. You remember Thanksgiving, right? And, everybody's in there just stuffing their faces, first meal. And if you ever look at your grandma or your grandpa, or grandma mostly, they don't really have too much on their plate. And I remember asking my grandma, Grandma, you not hungry? You're not gonna eat? She's like, no, baby, I'm not hungry. And it's now that I know, that feeling, because she put all that love into her food, that passion and that time and that energy, that we're just soaking it all up because it's so good, but she's not hungry because she gave it all to us. So it's that's what it is for me, giving that love into my food and serving it to people, that's the fulfillment for me. So that's where it's at.
Do you have a preference with events that you would do versus what you won't do? Have you ever said no to doing an event?
I have. Most of the time it's just very, very last minute with a lot of people. Because, you know, I still am a growing business.
Right.
So I can't do everything like I want to. So sometimes I do have to say no.
So like, do you have people you can rely on when it comes to catering events and dinners or?
Yep. So, you know, as I start working at restaurants, or start working at other jobs and gigs, and this is for like anybody, it's important to make connections and build relationships, because when you do need help, when there's 200 people, you know, I can always call a friend like, hey Olivia, she's also a chef. You know, are you free to stay? You know, do you mind helping me? And most of the time she'll say yeah, and she'll come out and she'll help me. And vice versa. Like if she has a large number of people to cater or serve, she'll call you like, hey Danny, you know, can I use you? And I'm like, absolutely. So it's all about building connections and building relationships, so you can get that support that you need.
Yeah, I know we've had private conversations about giving back to the community and whatnot. And I saw on your Instagram earlier this year that you spoke to a group of kindergarten students. Can you tell us how the experience was?
Okay, yes. So I ain't gonna lie, I was nervous. I was so nervous because kids do not lie. They will not lie. Okay, they will tell you the honest God truth, but they do not care about your feelings.
Right.
So I was going in there really nervous. It was 3 classes all in a cafeteria, and so it was about like 20. So it was roughly about 60 students, between like 50 60 students. And what I had them do was, I each sat like a cup of yogurt in front of them. They had like their own little cute little glass. And then so, you know, I kind of went through the motion of explaining what a yogurt parfait was. And most of the kids, they did not know, which was really exciting for me because it was like, okay, I'm teaching them something new. You know?
Yeah.
And that was kind of like my first little presentation demo. So I was really excited. And so after that, what I had the kids do after I explained to them what a parfait was, they were able to cut their own strawberries for their yogurt with a little plastic knife, because of course, you know, the kids
right.
so nice. So, you know, they removed the little leaves and cut it in half. And then they added the blueberries on top. And then we added a couple pieces of granola. And then after that, the kids ate. They were like extremely excited. Some of them I told, okay, like let's just wait till everybody finishes building their parfaits. And you know, kids, they like whatever.
Yeah.
And they started eating it. And then, you know, like a week or 2 later, they had sent me the cards that the kids had made for me, and I was like almost cried because I was just like, just the fact that I can make an impact off of those kids mean everything to me. Like I would do it all over again. I was like, I wish I could have taken pictures, but just seeing their smiles, seeing their faces covered with yogurt and stuff and granola, that was really fun for me. So.
Okay. But how did the opportunity come about?
So my mom's a teacher, and she reached out to her principal to see if it was okay if I could do like a day in the life as a chef at their schools. And the principal, you know, she approved it. So
nice.
I was like, here he is. So yeah, that was fun. That was really fun.
Kyle.
So that was a beautiful story. And I was gonna ask you if you plan on doing something like that again, and you already answered that with saying yeah, you would do it again. But I want to know throughout this journey that you've been on, not even just culinary, but you're also doing baking and pastry. Which can you expand a little bit on that? How'd you get into the baking and pastry side? Like what inspired you to take a bit to go down that route?
So I was actually working on my bachelor's degree because I had already finished my culinary and associates, and I was working on my entrepreneurship program, bachelor's part. And I was walking downstairs and I seen this girl with this art sculpture, and it was a sugar sculpture, and they did like this. It was like this fish. It was all of it was sugar, y'all. It was like this fish with this nice little background, and she's like holding it, but she's walking slowly because I later found out that, you know, if you can't make it to the destination wherever you're at, like you failed the project or whatnot. But I was always interested, and I was like, that would be cool. Like, what if I took pastry just as an added bonus? And I was like, man, I'm about to graduate. Like, why would I do that? But I was like, you know what? That could kind of set me apart from some of the chefs because there's not that many people who do culinary and baking pastry. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'll take that leap of faith. And so I ended up going to the, I think it was a financial advisor, or I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But I remember going down to the office for them to add on baking pastry and to see how much longer it would take for me to graduate. And they said, with already the credits that I do have, it would just take an additional year, and then I'll be done. So I was like, you know what, a year ain't gonna hurt. You know, I'm gonna learn something new that I wasn't really good at, and yeah. So I found myself looking after that.
How much of the baking and pastry would you say is now part of your Chow 108 business?
So I'd say like entremets this class, we had entremets, it's called entremets and petite essos, and they're basically like little cakes. So I definitely take that class to heart. Plated desserts was my all. I think that's what really made me fall in love with just trying to do like plated desserts and setups and presentation, because once I learned like the basics of plating, it was like, oh, I feel like I can do this as long as my food good, you know, because your food can look great, but I'm sorry, taste great. I said that wrong. Even though your food looks good, right, it also needs to taste great. And I'm like, okay, like I can make my food taste good, but if I can make my plates look even better, like I'm good to go. So yeah, that's what made me fall in love with pastry for real, is that plated desserts class. Yeah.
So I learned a little bit on your business page of Chow 108, and I saw that you have a good mixture of both the baking and the pastry and the culinary. Do you have any favorite dish that you posted up there?
Or a fan favorite.
Or a fan favorite. I know you got fan favorites. Come on, I know someone gave you. I know you got a fan favorite.
Okay, so I don't necessarily have a favorite, but I can say the one that I'm most proud of is that deviled egg salad, because it wasn't supposed to be a deviled egg salad, y'all. It was supposed to be originally deviled eggs, but what happened was I had put too much honey in there, and there was also another liquid that I had added, and the consistency ended up being too loose. So I'm like, Lord, like, what am I gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm at this event, like I can't go out and, you know, substitute anything. Like I gotta figure it out. So I was like, oh my God, what can I do? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just take some lettuce, add some Parmesan, some salt and pepper, and I'm gonna drizzle it on the deviled eggs. On the lettuce, and then that's when I added the red peppers and the toasted pecans, because it was originally supposed to just, you know, the pecans were supposed to go on top. And they ended up loving it.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, whew. I was like, they don't know I messed up. But yeah, that was the one I was most proud of. My fan favorite, I would say, is definitely that sweet potato cheesecake.
I gotta try that.
Yeah.
I gotta try that.
There's one guy who said he don't even like desserts like that, and he left nothing. He left like half the crust on the plate. That was it. It's a little bit of whipped cream, but for the most part, he tore it up, so that made me feel good.
But that's the beauty about art, right? You can make an accident turn into a masterpiece.
Yeah.
That's the beauty about it, but I think that also comes with taking a risk to a degree. But speaking on risk, segue here. Are you open to share with some of the risks that you had to take from when you started to where you are now?
You gotta make more. You gotta spend money to make money.
Yeah.
What's another risk? Well, that's a really good question.
You know, it's almost like a habit where we get so focused on the journey that we don't really recognize and take time to reflect on what's the I gotta do this or else it's not gonna happen, or the things that you've already done. And sometimes nobody really knows what you may have to go through to get to that decision or to make that choice.
Yeah, and sometimes I often forget to, like, how far I've come and where I started. I remember one time, y'all, I had did a wedding, and thankfully, you know, they were like family, you know, we kind of grew together, and I had accidentally, I forgot to, so with catering pans, there's the pan of food, of course, and then there's the pan that's underneath it, and whenever you're doing a catering and you're using like the propane lighters, they're not propane, but the sternos, you're supposed to put water in there. And for some odd reason, your girl forgot to put water in there. So I'm cooking away, and I keep smelling something. I was like, why I smell burnt in here? Like, and I couldn't figure out, so I'm looking in the oven, trying to figure out what I got in the oven. There's nothing in the oven. So I go out there, and I can see like a little bit of smoke coming from not the pan, but around the pan. So I'm like, okay, like something's wrong. And I go over there, and it's one of the mac and cheeses, boy. Just burnt. You can just smell. As soon as you lift it up, and you just smell the burnt. I was just like, Lord, this is not good. I had to make it work, but it was not my favorite moment. It was a learning lesson, but it wasn't my favorite moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Learning lessons, though. What was the biggest learning lesson you've ever had for what you do?
I'd say always come prepared with everything and know what your kitchen is set up. Because if you don't know what's properly or improperly working in the kitchen, if you don't know beforehand, and you already got an idea of how your items and your food is supposed to be prepped, you gotta be screwed. You know, and it's not gonna look good on you or the business, because you know your clients or your guests, they don't care about that. All they care about is how does food taste and how that food look. So always come prepared and come over prepared. Bring extras, have backups, leftovers, whatever you need, but just always come over prepared, and knowing what your kitchen space or kitchen equipment. Make sure it's working properly or improperly, or make sure you know what's working and what's not working. So that's my biggest lesson.
So you've done private chefs, you've done the culinary restaurant, you've done the baking and pastry, you've done the schooling. What else is there left to do? What's the main goal?
Keep learning, because with the culinary industry, like it's always something new and improved and updated that's coming out, like. And if you don't stay up to date, you're gonna get left behind, you know?
That's a fact.
Yeah. So it's just important to keep learning, keep honing on your skills and your techniques, learning from different chefs. If you meet somebody, because there's been times where like I'll see people who get jealous because there's a chef that's younger than them, but they're 10 times better. Like don't get jealous, you know what I'm saying? Get over there and ask questions. Ask questions, study them, you know, see how they're doing things, so that way you can pick up those things and do whatever you want to do in your own lane.
So what would you say you see yourself in the foreseeable future? Like let's put a number on it, right? Let's put like 3 to 5 years. Where do you see yourself?
Okay, so in 3 years, I'm hoping that I'll do the private chef and catering full time, because right now it's just part time, because you know I actually have a full time job. You know, and private chef right now just doesn't pay all the bills. So in 3 years, I'm praying that you know I can do it full time, and then in 5 years, I'm praying that you know that 2 years, you know, my sales have doubled or tripled, So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. You plan to open your own practice, your own restaurant?
I thought about it. I don't really know because there's so much that goes into opening a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, overhead. You gotta think about decoration, even a bathroom. You know, you gotta think about the bathroom decor. You gotta think about the outside, the planting. You gotta think about your aprons. You gotta think about kitchen equipment. You gotta think about how many employees you're gonna have, your menu, your budget, your market. It's just so much. Maybe like on a small scale, like a food truck. But I don't think I'm gonna do a restaurant. Maybe like a small restaurant, a really small. Maybe like one of those restaurants where they just open from like 5 to 10 and we like constantly changing menus.
Yeah.
That's like a good vibe. But not no restaurant that's open from like 11 to 10 o'clock. Like no, it's a lot. It's stressful. I was a assistant manager at this one job at Beef Chicken actually. And I'm like so thankful for them like developing me professionally because I got to see like behind the scenes of the marketing and the invoices and what needs to be prepared. And I'm looking at the cost like, oh my God, like, you know, and then the warranties and stuff going out and stuff getting replaced and then the turnover of getting employees and stuff. So I really got a chance to see behind the scenes of what it's like to run a restaurant a little bit. Which was what I was thankful for.
What's one aspect of the culinary world, right, or your culinary journey that really sticks to you? And what's one thing you would change if you had the ability to change it? What's one thing?
Boy, you laid them questions down.
That's what I'm here for.
What's one aspect? You know what? Okay, one thing I would change as far as like going back, like from being in school, is not being too shy. Like making more connections, networking, because I didn't start doing that until after I left, and I was like, I regretted it, you know. So that's one thing I would change. I would go back and definitely be more open to failure, because I think a lot of times the reason why I was so shy is because, you know, I felt like I wanted to be good enough, but in my head I felt like I wasn't good enough. So I was like, you know, I'm just not going to talk to anybody. Like, I'm just going to do what my best is and just not, I guess, be closed-minded. But I really wished I would open up a lot more and make those connections and network with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to know, because it seems like almost everybody has a different answer or a different opinion on it. But for you as a chef, as your own personal chef, what's something that you hope everybody, or at least majority of people who try your food, what's the one thing you hope they get from trying your food?
The love. The love and the, no, I just say the love. Forget that, because it all goes back to the example that I was using about my grandparents, or my grandmother. You know, for during Thanksgiving when we're all just feeding our faces, and she's not really eating because she put all that thoughtful and love and passion into it. Like, that's what I want people to get from me and my business. The love that I put into it, and then the energy I'm giving out at that event. Like, that's what I want.
Yes, that's where it came from.
Yeah.
That's where it's got to go.
Eat good and feel good.
You sound like a grandma. I felt that. What is one dish that you actually hated making?
I wouldn't say like absolutely hated. But I'll never forget like taking an international cuisine class and like the prep and the time that it takes to make doggone stews, and I'm like, dude, like I don't want no parts. Like I don't want no parts. And then I burnt myself that's probably what it was. So I burnt myself during my finals trying to make that doggone stew.
What kind of stew was it?
I couldn't even tell you. I just remember coming back like, hey chef, like, you know, like my hand is all burnt up, it's all wrapped and stuff. And he was like, well, Danielle, you still got 30 minutes to get your dish done. I'm like, bro, like, you really want me to finish making this stew? Like, and my hand is like done for? And I gotta see. And I was like, well, it's better than freaking failure.
But you finished it with one arm though.
Yeah. Burnt arm, it was hard, man. And then it's just like, you can still feel the heat, like, you can still feel the heat, like me like moving around because it's a bunch of burners too. And it's hot, you know, so it's just like feeling that heat and still trying to produce results was a no-go for me. So ever since then, I don't touch no type of stews.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you brought up that kind of brought up the international food, and with art and cooking and all that, the fact that cooking and food is so intertwined with more than just one type of people. It really kind of gives you this basic idea or understanding of another culture or another group of people. Has that been true for you?
Yes. So when I worked at a restaurant, I was definitely submerged in the Latino community and culture, and I thought it was beautiful because, you know, compared to how they do things, just like they all eat together. You know, I remember growing up, we all ate together. So a lot of their culture has some similarities in the things that we do, and I think it's dope.
How would you say those things that you've learned from that culture, like, either played a role or influenced your cooking ever since?
I'd say it made me do a lot more things from scratch. That's why I love making a lot of stuff from scratch, because I see the joy and the time. I remember one day we made not only did we make that, but we made homemade tortillas. I was too hyped, y'all, about no tortillas. But it was the simple fact that, you know, usually we just walk into the store and buy a tortilla, you know, out the door. But for them to take their time to show me, like, okay, this is how you make your own tortilla. This is how you mash it up. This is how you press it down on the flat top. And this is what you eat with it. I had a ball. That was a good experience, yeah.
And did it taste better?
Yes.
Than a regular tortilla?
It did.
Or than a store-bought tortilla?
No.
It didn't taste better than a store-bought tortilla?
Oh, no, it did. I'm sorry, yeah, it did. I heard wrong, but yeah, it did. I was too like, I went back for a second. I was like, no, do this again.
All right, so I got one more, and I promise I only got one more question.
Okay.
Well, it's not even a question. Tell us at least your favorite or one of your favorite cooking stories.
I don't have a most favorite.
You don't have a most favorite?
I don't know.
Not even when you studied abroad?
No favorite memory?
I mean, I got memories as a kid. Oh my God. Because my parents, my stepmom and my dad, they never let me live it down. Like, they talk about to this day about how I try to make toast bread. You know, usually you put bread in the toaster, you know. But your girl didn't do that. Shawty took the slice of bread out and put it directly on the stovetop and turned the stove on. Like, I was making toast. Like, and my stepmom, she came in, she like, damn, what you doing? I was like, I'm making toast. And she was like, that's not how you make toast, girl. You about to burn down the house. So I guess that would be like a good cooking story. I mean, I guess, but that's my most memorable one. And then me just adding like the extra salt to the peas I was telling you guys about earlier, and then trying to hide it underneath my plate so I didn't have to eat it. But yeah.
No, that's wild. Trying to hide peas underneath your plate. That's wild.
I'm like, no, you gonna eat them. Like, I don't want to eat them. It's so salty.
No, my mom was like that too. Especially food what I did not like. It's like, you cannot leave until you finish everything on the plate. I'm like, but I don't like it.
Right. And when did I go to prison?
I used to love being in the kitchen, man. No, I hate it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my most. I can say that's my favorite thing because they'll never let me live it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good story, though.
Yeah, let them tell you.
No, but we really do appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and have this little chit chat. I really learned a lot about you.
I appreciate y'all for having me. I was so nervous.
And I know you personally, Danielle, but I feel like I learned 10 times more about you today. And for people who, what can you say to someone who is wanting to become a chef or wanting to just get in the culinary business, period? Because there's so many layers and there's so many things you can do. What would you tell them?
First off, if you're a woman, you're gonna have to work 10 times as hard. So I'm just gonna embrace you now. And it's not easy at all. You're gonna hit a lot of no's before you hit a yes. Don't give up. Stay encouraged. Be reminded of who you are, or get somebody to remind you of who you are so you don't lose that hope. Don't stay motivated if you can, or find something that helps you stay motivated, because there will be some roadblocks along the way, but if you keep that passion flame, like, you're gonna cruise through. It's gonna take you some time, but you'll still do good if you hang in there.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
Well, for anybody that would like to book with you, for your services with Chow 108, how can they reach you? What's your social media? Let the people know.
So you guys can definitely, right now I'm working on my website in the midst of all this. So hopefully it'll be out within the next 2-3 weeks. But other than the website, you all can definitely reach me on Facebook or Instagram. Chow 108, Chow 108 _ on Instagram or Facebook, Chow 108. And yeah, y'all can reach out to me there.
All right.
I definitely am for that mac and cheese. I ain't gonna lie to you. For that mac and cheese, oh yeah, I'm coming.
Okay. Yeah, man. I was so happy when I seen your faces. I was like, all right, I did it. You did it, Joe. So, yeah.